AfroTales Podcast is a part of the Connected Podcast Network. Ahoy, my friends. Welcome aboard the AfroTales Podcast. I'm your storyteller, Aman Mazinga. Join me as we explore the tales that grew from the people of indigenous and African descent in the Americas and the Caribbean. After, come and see me, chef, who will impart upon you a recipe for the story you have just heard. So with no further ado, let us set sail on this new age of exploration.
The Rainbow Crow. Long, long ago, before the two-legged walked the earth, the weather was always warm, and the animals were always happy. But one day, something happened to cause the earth to grow cold. Tiny crystals, glittering like diamonds, drifted down from the sky, covering earth with a sparkling softness. The animals, seeing snow for the first time, were not afraid. But soon the snow deepened. The mouse disappeared. The tip of his tail was all the animals could see, and they began to worry. Then Rabbit disappeared. The tips of his ears were all the animals could see, and they worried more. As they gathered together in the clearing deep inside the forest to talk about the weather, what was needed, they decided, was a messenger to travel at once to the great sky spirit and ask him to stop the snow. But who would be willing to leave Earth to visit the distant place where the sky spirit dwelled? Possum said, "Owl is the wisest. Perhaps he should go." But no, the animals whispered. He might get lost in the light of the day, so Owl should not go. Then Beaver said, "Well, perhaps Raccoon should go." But no, the animals argued. He might follow his tail instead of his nose, so Raccoon should not go. Then Skunk said, "Perhaps Coyote should go." But no, the animals shouted. Coyote is clever and loves to play tricks. He might chase the clouds or swallow the wind, so Coyote should not go. Scritch, scratch, screech it, scratch it, yep, yep, yo, yo. The noisy animals screeched and howled because they could not decide who should visit the great sky spirit to ask him to stop the snow. And so the snow grew deeper and deeper and deeper. And the small animals climbed on the back of the tall animals so they would not disappear. Suddenly, down from the top of the tallest tree flew Rainbow Crow, the most beautiful bird on earth, who called out to all of the animals below in the sweetest voice of all birds, and he sang, "I will go, I will stop the snow." And the animals, happy at last to have Crow as their messenger, chanted a song of praise. Aye, 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 rain, Rainbow Crow, stop the snow, Crow, fly to the sky high, rain, Rainbow Crow, aye, 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 aye. Then up into the sky flew Rainbow Crow, far above the snow and the winds of earth. Way beyond the moon, the stars, and the clouds. For 3 days, Crow flew, until he came upon the great sky spirit, who was too busy to notice. So Rainbow Crow began to sing. Oh, great spirit in the sky, you rule the earth from way up high. You make the creatures large and small. You are the ruler of us all. You make the trees and flowers grow. You call the wind and clouds to blow. You make the rain. You make the snow. You make the cold on earth below. Oh, great spirit in the sky, for you I sing this lullaby. The great spirit stopped to listen. Never before had he heard such a sweet voice sing such a beautiful song. And he told Crow to choose a gift. Now, Crow knew that far below on earth the snow was getting so deep that soon the animals would disappear. So he asked the great spirit to stop the snow. The great spirit replied, "No, Crow, I cannot stop the snow, for snow has its own spirit. When snow spirit leaves the clouds to visit with its friends wind spirit, the snow will stop, but earth will still be cold." So Crow asked the great spirit to stop the cold. The great spirit replied, "No, Crow, I cannot stop the cold. All I can do is give you a gift of fire. Fire will keep you warm and will melt the snow so that your friends will be content until warm weather returns." The great spirit put a bit of fire on the end of it and handed it to Crow. I will give you this gift, but once. Hurry, fly back to Earth before the fire disappears." Off flew Crow. On the first day, as Crow flew down, showering sparks of fire darkened his tail feathers. On the second day, as Crow flew down, the fire burned brighter and the stick grew shorter, and all of Crow's feathers were covered with soot. On the third day, as Crow flew down, the fire was so hot and the stick was so short that smoke and ash blew into Crow's mouth, and his voice became cracked and hoarse. When at last Crow returned to the clearing in the forest, all the animals had disappeared. Only the tops of the tallest trees could be seen. The branches sprouted through the deep snow. So Crow flew down, close to the pale ground, around and around until the fire melted the snow and his friends were safe. And this tiny stick of fire became the grandfather of all fires. And for this, all the animals on earth thanked Crow. They danced and chanted a song of praise. Aye, 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 kind, young, brave Crow saved us from snow, flew to the sky high, brought back fire. Now just plain Crow, no more rainbow. Aye, 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 aye. At last Crow, all alone, flew off to a distant tree where he wept. It was no longer beautiful. He could no longer sing a sweet song. His rainbow feathers were gone forever. When snow spirit emptied the clouds and joined wind spirit, the snow stopped. But Crow still wept. The great sky spirit heard Crow and came down from the sky. And when he saw Crow, he said, "Soon the two-legged will appear on earth. He will take the fire and be master of all but you. For being so brave and unselfish, I give you the gift of freedom." The two-legged will never hurt you, for your meat tastes like fire and smoke. The two-legged will never capture you, for your beautiful voice is now crackly and hoarse. The two-legged will never want your feathers because your rainbow color is now black. But your black feathers will shine, and they will reflect all the colors on earth. If you look closely, you will see. Then Crow looked, and he saw hundreds of tiny rainbows shining in his black feathers. And he was content. The great spirit returned to his home in the distant sky, and Crow happily returned to his friends in the forest, proud that he was now Black Crow, the shining feathers full of tiny rainbows. The end. Wow. So this was a very interesting story. I do want to let you know, if you go look for this story, The Rainbow Crow, it will say that it is an Lenape tale. If you research the Lenape people, they will say that this story isn't theirs, that it's more than likely a Cherokee tale about the first fire. Whatever you do, it is a wonderful story and has a wonderful message. The book is Rainbow Crow, retold by Nancy Van Laan. And it is a reading rainbow book. So if you ever watched the show back in the day, you may have seen it on there. I don't know. I'm going down a deep dive to find if this book was actually on the show with my inspiration, LeVar Burton. Let's get into it. This story has a few messages to me, and the biggest message is picking the right person for the job. You know, they asked Owl. Owls are night creatures. Not good for going up into the sun, right? They mentioned Coyote, which in most indigenous mythologies is a trickster on the levels of Anansi and Brer Rabbit and High John and Old John, you know, those characters. He's a trickster. Do you really want to trust that person to do right? Right? I actually have a coyote story coming later on in the season. And when everybody comes to the consensus that they can't figure out who would do this task, here comes Rainbow Crow. And he volunteers himself to go up there and talk to the Great Spirit and asks to save his friends. Not knowing what the Great Spirit would say or do, or even if he would or wouldn't, he just did. He was selfless in that. And a lot of us have friends that are selfless like that. They'll do for the group what the group can't figure out who should do, because nobody volunteered. They were all suggesting other people, and only Rainbow Crow decided, hey, no, I'll just do it myself. You know, that's wonderful. And again, not knowing what would occur in doing this, he goes up there, he gets the fire, and he returns a completely different person, a different animal, a different creature, at least in appearance. We can also say in mind, in soul, because he lost his beauty, because he lost his voice, he started looking down on himself, but had to realize that in everything that he's done, he's still the same person. He's still that beautiful person on the inside. Just because everybody can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. And he regained his joy. And I think that's a good message for us to hear, that just because people can't see the beauty in you, they can't see it because of everything you've been through in life, doesn't mean it's not there. It's up for you to look into the mirror and see it for yourself. It's up to you to look at your hands and look at your body and look at yourself and your inner self and see that you are just as beautiful as the day you were born. You know? Don't let society determine your worth or who you are. What a great story. And what a great recipe we have. Because after this, now you get to go see Chef. And Chef has a wonderful indigenous, well, at least it's supposed to be indigenous, because this week's stories and recipes, a journey I have been on. But anyway, go see Chef. He has a wonderful story. A wonderful recipe for you. And until we meet again on this grand journey we are on, as always, thank you and have a blessed day. Welcome, my friends, to the Galley. I am your chef, and today we have a wonderful recipe inspired by the story you have just heard. Today, we will be creating indigenous dumplings with berries. Now, what will you need for this recipe? 1 cup fresh blueberries, plus more for serving. 1 cup fresh blackberries, plus more for serving. 1 cup of unsweetened grape juice. 1/4 cup maple syrup. 1 cup all-purpose flour. 1 teaspoon baking powder. 1 teaspoon kosher salt. And 1 large egg. Now, how do we put this together? Easy. Add berries to a saucepan with grape juice, maple syrup, and 1 cup of water. Let come to a simmer on low heat and simmer until fully cooked down. About 5 minutes should do, and set that aside. Prepare dumplings in a mixing bowl. Add flour, baking powder, and salt. Mix together. Then add egg and half cup room temperature water and mix. Then bring berry mixture back to a simmer. Drop dumpling mixture with a spoon into simmering mixed berries and stir together. Simmer until dumplings are cooked. About 10 minutes should do. Serve warm or at room temperature. Top with fresh blueberries and blackberries. And that is it, my friends. Now, go make this recipe yours. And until I have another wonderful recipe for you, remember the story of the rainbow crow and its sacrifices. So, until next time, my friends, as always, enjoy.
Thank you, my friends, for coming on this voyage. Thanks to Art by Chalet for the logo, episode, and shirt designs. You can get t-shirts and other items on tpublic.com. You can contact me on all socials at AfroTalesCast. That's AfroTalesCast. And email me at AfroTalesCast@gmail.com. You may also become a benefactor by simply sharing with any and everyone, giving a thumbs up, a 5-star rating and review, in your podcast app of choice, or simply donating on Patreon or Ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com. So until we meet again, may your winds be fair and your seas follow.